If you're a woman who feels like no matter how much you achieve, you're always waiting for that email, that praise, that one right thing from your partner to finally feel okay, this is for you. This constant waiting is the exhaustion of living by what I call the external validation contract. You are brilliant, you are capable, but you've unknowingly signed over the deed to your self-worth, making it someone else's property. This habit is the exact opposite of inherent worth. Inherent worth is your internal property. External validation is outsourcing. You're using external sources, a client, a friend, even a social media metric, as a temporary bank to deposit your value. That high you feel after a compliment, it isn't true confidence. It's the fleeting relief of getting an emotional paycheck that pays off a momentary debt of insecurity. But because the source of that funding is outside of you, you're constantly dependent, always watching the market, and terrified of the next withdrawal. This dependency is stealing your sovereignty and blocking your access to true, calm confidence. Today, we're reclaiming that deed. We are severing the link between external approval and your internal value. We removing you from the desperation of seeking a paycheck to the settled certainty of being the unshakable bank of your own worth. In this masterclass, we'll decode the validation pendulum, define the sacred sovereignty of self-worth, and I'll give you 3 steps to permanently reclaim your power. Let's start by understanding the anatomy of outsourcing your value. Seeking external validation isn't a character flaw. It's a sophisticated survival strategy your nervous system uses to create an illusion of safety. It's the moment you consciously or subconsciously give away control of your internal state. The system is built on this emotional paycheck mechanism. The formula is someone else's approval equals a value deposit, which equals temporary relief. This mechanism works like a drug. When you get praise, your brain releases a hit of dopamine and serotonin, signaling safety and belonging. The feeling is real, but it's conditional. This immediate high tricks your brain into thinking, this is what safety feels like. I have to repeat the action that created this external response. This addiction to the emotional paycheck creates 3 crippling dependencies. First, the validation pendulum. Because your value source is external, your self-esteem is always swinging between 2 extremes. When you get praise, the pendulum swings to high status and relief. But the moment the praise stops, or worse, criticism arrives, the pendulum violently swings to low status and panic. You never get to just sit in the center. Your focus is always on that external source, desperately waiting for the next swing toward the positive. This constant swinging is the definition of instability and the source of your chronic anxiety. Second is the vulnerability of value. By outsourcing your worth, you make yourself vulnerable to things you can't control. The person giving you praise might be having a bad day. They might be distracted. They might criticize you instead. The moment the source of your value is outside your control, you become a hostage to other people's moods, opinions, and schedules. This forced surrender is why true, calm confidence is impossible under the external validation contract. You're re-giving the keys to your entire internal kingdom to someone who doesn't even know they're re-holding them. And third, the silence of self-betrayal. The desperate need for approval forces you to betray your true self. You mute your boundaries, you tone down your real opinions, and you become a version of yourself designed to please others. Your deepest self registers this betrayal as a profound integrity breach. This creates a loop. You seek validation because you feel unworthy, but seeking it requires you to betray yourself, which makes you feel even more unworthy, forcing you to seek more validation. This is the spiral that keeps you stuck. The path to peace requires you to completely stop outsourcing. It demands that you reclaim your value as internal, non-negotiable property. To heal this addiction, we must establish a new truth. Your worth is not a paycheck. It is internal property. It's a spiritual constant that belongs entirely to you. The core difference between the validation lie and this spiritual truth is how we process external information. The lie sees praise as a paycheck that funds your value. The truth sees praise as a reflection that simply confirms a truth you already know. You must be able to receive external input, praise, or criticism without it changing the baseline of your internal worth. When you operate from this truth, the function of external information shifts completely. When you receive praise from a place of internal sovereignty, the process changes. Let's say a colleague says, "That presentation was brilliant." Your mind silently checks your internal ledger, which reads, "Value is constant, unchangeable, whole." You then register the praise as a pleasant reflection of your skill or effort. You feel good about the work, but your worth doesn't change. The feeling is contained, and you can just say thank you and move on. The energy is one of acknowledgement, not necessity. This is the power of the silent receiver. You receive the information without letting it penetrate your core identity. Criticism becomes just as manageable. It's information about the work, which is external, not a comment on your soul, which is internal and constant. You're no longer vulnerable because the external validation contract has been voided. Your peace is non-negotiable. Now for the technology of reclamation. Here are 3 steps. Reclaiming your sovereign worth is a disciplined practice of emotional withdrawal. It requires you to actively choose internal authority over external dependency, especially in those moments of craving. Step 1, the inventory of dependence. You have to first identify the precise transaction you're trying to make. Practice this. The next time you feel that anxious urge to seek validation to check a text, ask for reassurance, pause. Place your hands on your heart and belly. Gently ask yourself, what specific external source am I trying to make responsible for my value right now? Maybe the answer is, I'm trying to make my boss's reply responsible for confirming my competence. Then name it. I am trying to check out my value to my boss on the condition of their reply. This naming is the first act of sovereignty. It brings the lie from your subconscious into your conscious mind, allowing you to choose a new response. Step 2 is silent receiver. This is the crucial step of changing how you process external praise. Shifting it from a funding source to a neutral piece of data. Here's the practice, the boundary breath. When you receive a genuine compliment, don't immediately absorb it or deflect it. First, take a deep breath and consciously feel the stability of your anchor, your hands on your body. Acknowledge the praise and say, thank you. Then, before the energy of that praise can fund your insecurity, state your internal truth. The praise is a reflection of my effort, not the source of my value. Hold this internal boundary for 15 seconds. You're training your body to accept that good things can happen externally, but they don't define your internal constant. You're receiving the good energy without giving away your power. Step 3, the sovereignty shield. This practice builds the muscle memory for choosing yourself over others' opinions, especially when anxiety is high. Here's the practice, the decision anchor. In a moment of low status after a criticism or when you feel that shame spiral, do not reach out for validation. Instead, use that anxiety as fuel for your sovereignty. Place your hands on your anchor, and instead of asking for approval, make a small internal decision that only serves you. A decision to rest for 5 minutes, to turn off your phone, to maintain a boundary you were tempted to break. Then state the final declaration, my authority is internal. My peace is not negotiable. This small, deliberate act of choosing your own authority builds the impenetrable shield of true self-worth. My love, the chronic anxiety and instability you felt were not flaws in your design. They were simply the inevitable result of trying to fund your infinite, inherent worth with a conditional, external currency. Today, we void the external validation contract forever. You are not a petitioner seeking approval. You are the sovereign bank of your own value. Your peace is non-negotiable. Your authority is internal. You are whole. This transmission gave you the spiritual fact and the technology to recognize and stop outsourcing your worth. The next step is mastering the deeper practices to ensure this truth is felt in every cell of your body. If you're ready to stabilize this confidence and move from dependency to unshakable calm, I invite you to subscribe to the channel right now. Join our shared awakening energy and unlock the next transmission. Click that subscribe button below. And for my most intimate teachings and exclusive content, I invite you to join my private newsletter, The Radiant Inner Circle. This is where we go deeper than these videos allow. The link is in the description. You are so welcomed here. You are safe. I will see you in the next transmission.